when an antique mirror was bought without knowing it contained an evil spirit within. The story begins in 1964 at an antique shop on the outskirts of town. A young married couple, Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren, known for their ability to handle supernatural cases, are investigating a mysterious incident experienced by a woman named Lucy, the daughter of the shop owner. Lucy tells them that her father had recently died in a tragic way. He was found hanging. Since the mirror arrived at the shop, strange things have begun to happen. After her father's death, Lucy decided to hide the mirror in the storage room, hoping the disturbances would stop. However, the strange occurrences continued. Driven by curiosity, Ed and Lorraine decide to see the mirror themselves. As they enter the storage room, Ed feels uneasy, especially since Lorraine is heavily pregnant, but she reassures him that she will be fine. When her hand touches the mirror's frame, she suddenly feels a sharp pain in her stomach, a sign that labor has begun. Panicking, Ed rushes her to the hospital and stays by her side as she gives birth to their first child.
Hospital's 10 minutes away!
What's the baby do?
Hey, she's early!
She's losing blood.
In the delivery room, tension rises when the lights suddenly go out. After a long struggle, Lorraine finally gives birth to a baby girl. But the joy doesn't last long. The baby makes no sound. The doctors do everything they can, but finally declare that the baby is dead. Overwhelmed with grief, Lorraine holds her lifeless child and prays desperately for her to be given a chance to live. Miraculously, the baby suddenly cries and begins to breathe normally.
Please bring her back.
They name her Judy. Time passes quickly. Judy grows up to be a kind girl, inheriting her mother's gift of sensing the presence of spirits. Lorraine teaches her how to control her ability so she won't be constantly disturbed. 22 years later, in 1986, the story shifts to a family in Pennsylvania. Jack and Janet live with their 4 daughters, Heather, Dawn, and the twins Karen and Shannon, along with Jack's parents. That day, the family is busy preparing for Heather's baptism celebration. The house is filled with laughter and joy as Jack records every moment with his handycam.
Buddy, you're in the shot.
Milo Evans Roberts, he's the gift of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Doesn't she look beautiful?
Holy Spirit.
When Heather opens her gift from her grandparents, she's surprised to find an old antique mirror they had bought at an auction. No one realizes that it's the same mirror that once brought tragedy to Lucy's family decades earlier. As Heather is about to blow out the celebration candles, they suddenly go out on their own.
Hey, what? She blew out my candle.
Everyone looks at each other in confusion, as no one had blown them. A few seconds later, the ceiling collapses, hitting Heather on the head. The scene shifts to show Ed's family having dinner at a restaurant. Judy, now a grown woman, is planning a small party to celebrate her parents' retirement from their work in the spiritual world. Ed looks weaker than before, his heart condition worsening after years of confronting dark supernatural forces. The happiness of that evening is disturbed when Lorraine suddenly feels a chill around her. Judy falls silent too, realizing that something unseen is near them. She tries to calm herself by praying, but Lorraine freezes as she sees a pale hand's shadow touching her daughter's shoulder. In an instant, the figure disappears. Not wanting to worry Ed, Lorraine and Judy agree to keep the incident secret so he won't become more stressed, knowing his fragile health. Meanwhile, back in a suburban neighborhood in Pennsylvania, Janet is busy with piles of laundry in the basement. Suddenly, she hears a faint voice calling her name. A shadowy figure stands in the darkness, but when she turns on the light, no one is there. Later, Janet prepares dinner for her family while chatting on the long-corded home telephone. Suddenly, the phone cord seems to be pulled by something unseen. Annoyed, Janet assumes her children are playing a prank, but when she sees them in the living room, she's left confused. Who could have pulled the cord?
You didn't say that, no.
Meanwhile, Janet's twin daughters are happily playing with their dolls in their bedroom. Shannon notices that one of her dolls is missing. She looks around to find it, but instead encounters a horrifying female figure.
Okay, here, Susie.
That night, Heather, unable to stand the eerie presence of the antique mirror any longer, convinces Dawn to help her get rid of it. She feels as if something behind the glass has been watching her constantly. The next morning, the mirror is taken away by garbage collectors and loaded into a crushing truck. Moments later, something far more terrifying happens. As the mirror shatters into pieces, Dawn screams in agony and begins vomiting shards of glass from her mouth. Everyone nearby panics, unable to comprehend what is happening. After the horrific incident with Dawn, the story shifts to Ed, who is undergoing a routine health check. The doctor informs him that his heart has grown weaker due to years of stress and shock from dealing with supernatural entities. He is warned that another heart attack could be fatal. Ed accepts that his body is no longer as strong as it once was. That evening, he returns home to find Lorraine preparing a small surprise to celebrate his birthday. Ed feels grateful to still be able to share the moment with the woman he loves. Shortly after, Judy arrives with her boyfriend, Tony. She introduces him to her parents, and Father Gordon, a longtime family friend, is also there to offer blessings and congratulations. During the warm conversation, Tony excuses himself for a moment while Judy goes to her room filled with memories from her childhood. As she reminisces, the spirit of Annabelle suddenly appears to haunt her again. Shocked, Judy immediately begins reciting the prayers her mother taught her. Moments later, Tony rushes in after hearing the noise, but Judy, not wanting him to worry, insists everything is fine. Soon after, Lorraine calls them to the garage, where Ed is waiting, and challenges Tony to a friendly ping pong match.
Tony! You're up. Ready? Yeah. You need to hop around a little more?
When Judy steps away for a moment, Tony takes the opportunity to speak privately with her parents. He pulls a small ring from his pocket and sincerely expresses his intention to marry Judy, hoping to receive their blessing. Amid the awkward yet heartfelt moment, Lorraine smiles and tells Tony to be a good husband. Not long after, Judy returns and realizes that Tony has been planning to propose to her.
Is that for me? Yes. In the car.
Sure.
Meanwhile, the atmosphere in Jack's house grows increasingly tense. Still traumatized by the strange incident that happened to her, Dawn begs her father to move out immediately. She feels the house is no longer safe, and the fear on her face clearly shows she doesn't want to stay there any longer. But Jack tries to calm her down. He has already contacted a priest to come and perform an exorcism at their home. The priest is scheduled to arrive the following week, and Jack believes everything will be fine. His calm attitude, however, only frustrates Dawn. To her, waiting a whole week feels unbearable, especially after everything that has already happened in that house.
Just gonna let us live in a haunted house? It wants to kill us! No, I'm not.
That night, while everyone is resting, Jack, who is about to go to bed, is startled when the bedroom door slowly opens on its own. This time, Jack himself experiences a terrifying paranormal disturbance that leaves his body paralyzed in fear. Meanwhile, Heather, unable to sleep, decides to watch a recording of their family party from some time ago. When she replays the moment she was blowing out the candles, something makes her hair stand on end. In the footage, a dark figure can clearly be seen standing beside her, and it's that figure who actually blows out the candle. Suddenly, a large man appears in the room, lunging at Heather. She screams in terror, waking up the entire household. Janet rushes in and finds her daughter trembling on the floor, pale with fear. After that horrifying night, Janet finally loses her patience. The priest they were promised can't come until next week, as he still needs permission from the church. For Janet, waiting that long is the same as leaving her family in danger. Desperate, she decides to contact a local media outlet. She tells them about the haunting her family has been suffering, hoping the coverage will attract the church's attention and make their case a priority. It doesn't take long before news of the haunted house spreads everywhere. Journalists swarm their neighborhood with cameras and microphones, causing a commotion among the locals. During an interview, Janet insists that her family isn't seeking attention. They just want immediate help, and what's happening to them is not a hoax. Elsewhere, Judy is busy preparing for her wedding day. She visits a boutique with Lorraine to try on her wedding dress. Everything seems normal at first, until the designer, Brenda, excuses herself to take a phone call. As soon as Brenda leaves, Judy senses a strange, cold presence around her. Suddenly, she feels weak as a terrifying, ghostly figure begins to torment her.
You okay down there, Brenda?
Just as she starts to calm down, when the ghost disappears, Judy is shocked again when her reflection in the mirror suddenly lunges at her. Fortunately, Lorraine, hearing the noise, rushes in and finds Judy trembling in fear. Back at Jack's home, Father Gordon finally arrives after the family's case becomes the talk of the media. Janet and Jack welcome him and recount everything that has happened. In truth, Father Gordon's visit has not been officially authorized by the church, meaning any actions he takes there are outside the church's jurisdiction. He simply hopes to help the family in any way he can. After walking through each room, Gordon senses a deeply evil presence lingering in the house.
Spirit.
What happened down there?
Realizing the darkness that resides there, he decides to return to the church immediately to request official permission to perform an exorcism. He promises the family he will come back as soon as possible, but no one expects that day to be his last. While waiting for approval from the higher clergy in a quiet church office, Gordon begins experiencing disturbing supernatural phenomena.
Father Gordon?
He realizes that the demon haunting Jack's house has followed him to the church. In a panic, Gordon tries to fight back, but the entity is far too powerful. The crucifix he holds suddenly bursts into flames. Under the demon's influence, Gordon becomes entranced and is compelled to take his own life. News of his tragic death spreads quickly. Ed and Lorraine, who knew him well, attend his funeral and are deeply shaken. As the ceremony ends and everyone begins to leave, Judy approaches Gordon's coffin. For reasons she cannot explain, she feels compelled to touch it, and the moment she does, she experiences a vision. After returning home, Lorraine tries to calm herself by doing routine chores. While standing in the kitchen washing dishes, the sink drain suddenly clogs. As she tries to fix it, she feels a strong premonition that something terrible is about to happen to her daughter. At that very moment, Tony arrives and tells Lorraine that Judy is currently at Jack's house. Without hesitation, Lorraine immediately grabs Ed and rushes there. When they arrive at the neighborhood, they are stunned to see a large crowd of onlookers and reporters gathered in front of Jack's home. Worried, Lorraine and Ed quickly go inside, fearing something has happened to Judy. To their relief, Judy is safe. She had gone there deliberately to investigate Father Gordon's death after receiving a vision at his funeral. Judy believes his death was not an accident, but the result of an attack from the malevolent entity haunting the house. She pleads with her parents to help the Smurl family, convinced that only Ed and Lorraine have the strength to confront such an evil force. Though Ed hesitates at first due to his frail condition, they ultimately agree to help. Before beginning the exorcism, Ed asks Jack and Janet to explain how the haunting began. As they tell their story, the atmosphere in the room shifts. The air grows heavy and cold. Lorraine senses a dark presence, unseen by others. The evil energy within the house is overwhelming. In that tense moment, Judy apologizes to her mother for acting on her own and causing her worry. Before Lorraine can respond, a noise echoes from upstairs. Sensing danger, Lorraine asks Judy to stay downstairs while she investigates. On the upper floor, she notices a shadowy figure darting across the hallway. Lorraine then tells Ed that the house once stood on farmland owned by a man who murdered his wife with an axe after catching her cheating. He also killed his in-laws before taking his own life. Yet, Lorraine explains, something far more sinister is at work. An entity so powerful that it now controls the spirits of those victims, using them to terrorize Jack's family. Meanwhile, inside the house, Judy hears what sounds like her mother calling her from upstairs. Unaware that the voice is merely a trick from the evil entity trying to lure her, she follows the sound. When she reaches the attic, Judy is shocked to find the antique mirror, previously destroyed, sitting there perfectly intact. A dark, powerful energy radiates from it. In the midst of her fear, she hears a child's voice calling her name. Suddenly, a large, terrifying version of Annabelle appears and begins chasing her. Hearing Judy's screams, Ed and Lorraine rush upstairs and find her lying on the floor, trembling in terror. Judy tells them she saw the antique mirror in the attic. When Ed and Lorraine go up, they're stunned to see the cursed mirror inside the Smurl family's home. In shock, they explain everything to Jack and Janet. Ed recounts that all the paranormal incidents haunting the house stem from this mirror, an object containing immense evil power. They had once handled the same mirror 22 years earlier, but after their shop went bankrupt and all their artifacts were auctioned off, the mirror changed hands several times. After explaining, Ed and Lorraine plan to secure the mirror in their special containment room so it can't harm anyone again. However, just as they prepare to lift it, the mirror suddenly topples over, nearly claiming another victim.
Is it just me or drywall underneath the insulation? Yeah. Yeah, good. Okay. Watch where you're going!
Amid the chaos, Lorraine realizes Judy has vanished. When she finds her, Lorraine is horrified to see her daughter possessed.
Judy.
For little Judy to come back.
The same dark spirit that had targeted Judy since before her birth has returned, now stronger than ever. Under possession, Judy knocks Lorraine unconscious and locks her in the basement. Ed, witnessing the horrifying scene, desperately tries to save his daughter, but the strain causes him to suffer a heart attack.
You're not.
I know you're in there, Daddy.
Meanwhile, Lorraine regains consciousness and struggles to escape the basement, only to be blocked by a large man wielding an axe, the vengeful spirit of the murderer who once lived there. Just as he's about to strike, Tony arrives and rescues Lorraine in time. Back upstairs, Ed miraculously survives his heart attack. He immediately tells Jack to get his family out of the house, which is now engulfed in dark energy. Shortly after, Lorraine and Tony rush to help Ed save Judy, only to find her body hanging from a noose. Horrified, they quickly cut her down. Judy isn't breathing, and panic fills the room as they perform chest compressions and give her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Relief washes over them when Judy finally gasps for air and opens her eyes. But their respite is brief. The cursed mirror begins to spin violently, signaling that the entity within is still alive and growing stronger. The mirror's force flings Tony across the room, pinning him beneath it. Determined to save him, Ed begins reciting the exorcism prayer, but it fails. The attacks intensify. In that desperate moment, Lorraine realizes the only way to defeat the evil is to face it head-on. Summoning all their courage, Ed, Lorraine, and Judy touch the mirror together and pray aloud. A burst of blinding light fills the room, and the dark energy within the mirror is finally vanquished. Everyone, Ed, Lorraine, Judy, Tony, and the Smurl family, survives. The Smurls continue living in their home for over 3 years, though the trauma of what happened never truly fades. The cursed mirror is secured in Ed and Lorraine's museum, locked away to prevent it from ever causing harm again. Judy and Tony eventually marry and live a happy life, while Lorraine has a vision of a peaceful future surrounded by their grandchildren. In the final moments of the story, Ed and Lorraine write about their experiences in a book, sharing their knowledge of the supernatural at a university, hoping future generations will carry on their mission. They continue to help others, though now only over the phone. The final note reveals that Ed and Lorraine remained married for more than 6 decades. At the age of 74, Ed suffered a severe stroke, and Lorraine cared for him until his passing 5 years later. She never remarried and died peacefully at the age of 92, and thus their story comes to an end.